Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I walked up to the podium and Alison looked at me and she said, "No." And yet, we begin. Hear ye, I hereby announce to you the presence of our very own Princess Alison of Loretta, who reigns in our magic kingdom of Pisidius land. She is our Princess Alison, commonly referred to as Princess Ali, not to be confused with Prince Ali. So glad you laughed, I was worried about that one. Our Princess Alison of Loretta carries in her all the beauty of Aurora sleeping in her glass casket, the grace and elegance of Cinderella at the ball, the courage of Mulan in battle, the class and dignity of Belle before she fell for the beast, and the independence of Ariel under the sea. I could go on, but I won't. All right, enough of that. For those of you who don't know, Alison, is a huge fan of Disney princesses. A fact that, when I first learned it, I doubted. But I have since grown to understand. You see, Alison shares a kinship with these other princesses that draws her affection. Behold her beauty. She's saying no again. Which rivals that of any prince's dream. It shines from her Rapunzel-like locks of ivory bedazzled with hot pink. Notice her grace and elegance a la Cinderella at the ball. Indeed, this was demonstrated when she, Alison Loretta, lost a game of categories in theater class when the category was, in fact, Disney princesses. Early in the round, of a fast-paced round, Alison was out-princessed by a freshman boy. And in her moment of defeat, she firmly and clearly congratulated her opponent by declaring, "Luck!" I thought it was so gracious of her to wish good luck to her opponent even after he bested her in what should have been her category to win. Some say she said something else. But our elegant Princess our Princess Alison would not utter such vulgarity, not our princess. Our Princess Alison also demonstrated the courage of Mulan, facing her fears and overcoming risk at every turn. It wasn't her who was, and still is, afraid to walk on the Urinetown set because she was partially responsible for building it. No, that must be someone else. She is undaunted, for example, by the use of screw guns and power tools. She even bravely volunteers to handle dry ice for theatrical special effects. It must be someone else who cowers from such benign dangers. Our brave stage manager, our brave Princess Alison wouldn't be afraid of such simple things. As for Belle's class and dignity, during last week's Make a Difference Day, while yours truly presented a heartfelt and emotional missive of my upcoming adventures in Haiti, I heard a significant belch. A burp echoed forth from the masses. It would not have been from the classy and dignified Alison. No. Indeed, it must have come from some crude beast. Finally, the independence she shares with Ariel, the little mermaid who goes off on her own to stand alone, on her own two, what do you call them? Feet. As our Princess Alison is about to do as she addresses us, her people, here in the land of Pisidius. She's not afraid or nervous to venture onto this stage at this lectern to address her kingdom. No. It must be someone else who is terrified beyond belief. She actually really is very nervous. But she shouldn't be, because she is fantastic. She is so engaging, talented, expressive, lovable, likable, as any of the princesses could possibly match her. And when it comes to her doing something like this well, she's got nothing to fear. And so I proudly present to you the very real and the very nervous Princess Alison of Loretta.
time in middle school. I would mess up some of the simplest of tasks. Numerous times in an attempt to thwart my terrible memory, I would write things like my locker combination down the inside of my arm, only to show up late to class without my books with ink dripping down my hand as I forgot the effects water has on cheap marker ink. But regular social faux pas are not uncommon for middle schoolers, only I took it farther into that wayward land of misfit toys with my boyish dressing habits, unstyled pixie cut, and unladylike behavior. I wanted to change because I thought that's what would help me fit in. In an attempt to facilitate this change, I took up these etiquette classes, at the end of which I had a test with just me and the instructor. After almost feeding her a cricket, drenching her in tea, and a small incident with fire that I won't go into, my instructor was furious and marched me out of the building, cursing me and my family name. I still remember the shame my mother felt as she escorted me out in front of all those other families. I felt as though I was trying so hard to put on this face of someone that I wasn't so that I could please my family. When looking in the mirror, I wondered, when will my reflection show who I am inside? Now, this all took place during a very important time in our country's history. As you all probably remember, we had just been attacked by an outside nomadic force in an attempt of retaliation. Our president, called a draft in which one male from every family was sent to be trained for warfare. In a desperate attempt to save my father and my country, I took his place in war, pretending to be the son he never had. With guidance from my ancestors, luck from my cricket, support from my horse, and comic relief from Eddie Murphy, I was able to prove myself a worthy soldier, make amazing friends, seduce Shang, save China, and bring honor to my family. Oh wait, that doesn't seem right. Sorry, sometimes I forget that I'm not actually a Disney princess. But strange obsession with children's animated films aside, clearly I did not actually, in the heat of our final battle, launch a firework into Shan Yu atop the Emperor's palace while dressed up as a geisha. P.S. Spoiler alerts. However, does this movie that is stocked full of anachronisms and impossibilities lack meaning or merit? Of course not. Because the truth is, in a way, I still was Mulan. I didn't fit any model for what a young girl should be, and just like every other kid, I was awkward as heck. Mulan almost burns down a building making tea. I almost did the same thing last month, microwaving a pizza. And another time making toast. And even a third time baking cookies. But does this stop Mulan? Heck no. She sticks it right in her patriarchal society and proves that she can bring honor to her family in her own way. Even when people found out she was a woman and they tried to tell her to go home, she proved that not only could she be a badass warrior dressed and bound to be a man, she could also do it in a full-length dress using her fan and her waist ribbon as weapons. I'm sorry, but hardcore doesn't even begin to cover how cool Mulan is. Mulan is inspiring to young women and men everywhere. She taught me that no one really fits the mold of normal, and that's okay. This was a lesson that made my life a whole lot easier. When I realized I didn't have to dress up or pick out outfits to please other people, I could just put an effort in on days that I want to, and feel comfortable on days when I want to, and wear florals with stripes, with polka dots on days when I want to. I really felt more like myself. I think that this is an important idea. And where did I learn it? From a movie. Specifically, a movie from an animated children's franchise that was supposed to be teaching us that if you're beautiful enough, you can get a wealthy man to fall in love with you and solve all your problems. Please. I think my fascination with Disney princesses really grew as I went through life hearing countless people dismissing numerous princesses in this unfair way. Don't get me wrong, while this point can be valid, it's also tired and overused. Someone wants to feel good about themselves by having a little online rant, so they pluck from the textbook example, leaving all other media without blame. To accuse the princesses of only teaching young minds the importance of beauty is to completely ignore much of their plot lines and to only focus on their beauty, which is pretty hypocritical if you ask me. But I know many of you won't agree with me with what I'm saying, and that's okay, I guess. But next time you watch Cinderella, look at her life and try to save yourself the futility of reducing her to nothing. Her mother and father are dead. The only thing of her parents that she still has is her mother's old dress. She lives as an abused maid in the house of her stepmother, and one day she wants to feel beautiful. So she works hard to fix up that old dress. And what happens? Her stepsisters rip it to pieces while verbally abusing her. She's told herself that no one can take away her dreams, and here, yet again, they have done just that. So yeah, she cries, and she gives in. This does not make her weak. Her fairy godmother is a symbol of faith and perseverance in hard times. Others watch this scene and think she whined or did nothing to get that happy ending, but I don't think she's whining. She's a woman who took years of abuse and is finally letting all the anger and sadness out. Not everyone has the resources to just work harder and get away from their lifestyle. Cinderella is hope and shows that sometimes you do just have to wait it out and stay strong, and miracles can happen. Cinderella is not the only character that I'm emotionally invested in. In fact, I have a problem. When I finally met all the princesses at Disneyland at age 17, I was all dressed up, and one of my best friends and I had on matching tiaras, and I got so excited that I hyperventilated and vomited all over the cafe. It's true. But mind you, this emotional investment does not stop at Disney princesses. I get obsessed over more TV shows and movies than I'd care to admit to. And the thing is, I know I'm not alone. I know there are some of you who share this addiction and can't help getting sucked into the glamour of the whole thing as you religiously follow all the award shows, making sure you've seen all the nominees for Best Picture, which, side note, don't be surprised if I'm suddenly sick on Sundays. Sorry, Keith. Or when some people may feel sad, or maybe even shed a tear at the end of Titanic. But you are there, and you are feeling the full extent of emotions that come with having your very own Leonardo DiCaprio dying right in front of your eyes, and Celine Dion wants you to feel even worse about yourself as she serenades you, and you find yourself screaming at the screen, "No, my heart will not go on," as tears stream down your face and you're lying in a pile of used tissues. Because that thing you're feeling right then is real connection with the characters. And to some people, these connections aren't real. And they say, "Come on, Allie, don't you think seeing it in theaters for a sixth time is kind of excessive?" And you and I, we just look at those people and feel sorry for them. Because no, it is not excessive. Others may look at us and think it's silly to get so caught up in TV and movies, but at least we can know this passion of watching people on a screen and feeling like they're so real and feeling like they are in our lives right now. It really gives us a unique human experience that can feel enlightening at times. My addiction to film and television has helped me so much. Sure, it hasn't really helped me with my productivity. Like, when I convinced myself watching a whole season of The Big Bang Theory in one night counts as studying for that physics test. Because, trust me, it didn't. But I'd like to think that it's helped me where it counts. This enlightenment can come in the form of inspiration from the stories told on the screen. One of my favorite movies is Fight Club, and while I mostly watch it because it's such an amazing and well-done story and it's crazy entertaining, I also dream of being a less violent female version of Tyler Durden. Because Tyler taught people everywhere not to get caught up in the motions of life, and that we can make a difference without having to conform. Movies can also help you connect with other people. I have a family full of introverts. And as my grandma always says, if it weren't for their cat, my parents wouldn't have ever had anything to talk about before I came along. Well, now that cat's dead. So instead, we talk about movies. We could be discussing one we just watched, or a long passive-aggressive debate on what to watch next, or when my dad does that, "What? You've never seen such and such? You can't go to film school without seeing such and such." It's a classic. Or when my mom exclaims, "I just don't like musicals. They're not natural. Get over it, Allie." After my 20th attempt at dragging her to Les Mis. But there's also the passionate discussions of films and in-depth critiques of our favorite Wes Anderson movies. Movies can be a great source for bonding with anyone. All my life, I have been told that watching TV just rots your brain away and that you should stop being so obsessed with movies and open a book. Yes, reading is great. We get it. But different people experience stories differently. I'm the type of person who many times will think the movie was better than the book. And that horrifies many people, including my mother, the librarian. But what gets me caught up in a story isn't so much the ability to imagine what's on a page. Instead, I love watching the story unfold, hearing the words actually spoken into my ears, and having a scene decided not just by dialogue and actions, but by composition and pace and music and everything else that goes into what we see on the screen. It's the ultimate interdisciplinary art form. It seamlessly weaves together the work of so many people in the act of telling a story. Reading has so many merits, but please, don't reduce movies and television to garbage when they have the ability to inspire so many emotions in people. From a dumb Disney movie teaching kids that the flower that blooms in adversity is the most rare and beautiful of all, to a critically acclaimed Academy Award-winning movie giving new meaning to the phrase, "Life is a box of chocolates, you never know what you're gonna get." Movies are inspiring, and it's okay to get caught up in that inspiration. Let yourself dress up to midnight premieres and spam people's Twitter feeds with quotes from last night's episode and bond with people you wouldn't otherwise talk to when you find out you share a fandom. It can give you a new fantastic point of view where no one will tell you no, or where to go, or say you're only dreaming. Let film and television open you up to a whole new world. Thank you.